Well, hello, crafty friends. Welcome to another episode of our podcast. Today we are joined by Dawn Renee Bova. She's a soulful artist, teacher, and author. Her work is a reflection of her soulful spirit and a celebration of the human experience. Her art has been internationally published and collected. She's also the host of the Catch Some SoulShine Podcast, which I listen to and I love. And on her podcast, she shares her wisdom, insights, and healing practices with fellow artists and creatives. Dawn is an international best-selling co-author of The Creative Lifebook and Radical Self-Love. Can't wait to hear more about these books. Join us as we discuss her journey of faith, loss, redemption, healing, creativity, and connection. Welcome to my podcast. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you
Thank
for coming.
you. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I like to start out with what you were like as a little girl and how you became interested in art and creativity.
Well, I can tell you that I've always been interested in creativity and art. And, some of my memories growing up is making mud pies out in the backyard, drawing. We would have little circuses in the basement. My mother was very creative, and she instilled that in us as kids, and she wanted us to be creative. And I loved it so much that I wanted to pursue it as a dream, but my logical brain took over, and I decided to get a profession that, I could probably make an income and a living at.
I totally understand that. My mom was, and still is, a very creative person, and she influenced me. And I've also taken a journey like you of having a real job. But that actually ties into one of my questions. And I'm just going to kind of go there next because your job as a nurse practitioner, I'm sure that helps you with your understanding of the brain and the human mind and that through your work. And I was going to ask you later, but let's just get into that. How did you get
Yeah.
into the work of mindfulness, healing, and how has your nurse practitioner job helped you in that endeavor?
Yeah, I've always been interested in, the healing modalities. And I think probably, one interesting thing that I didn't talk about, I haven't talked about this in a long time, but when I was in my 20s, I found out about this Universal Dances of Peace. And it was in one of the cities in Ohio, Columbus. And it was this Sufi Muslim, and he brought together Christians, Jewish, and Sufis. And we sat around and did circle dances and chanting, and it was such a healing experience. But I've always delved into that, and I've read a lot of self-help books. I love Wayne Dyer, and I can't Oprah, and some other healing people. But
Stephen Covey and all of those. Yeah.
yes, yes. And then later on when I went to nursing school, I actually did my like for a master's degree, you have to do this huge long paper, like 100 pages. And I did a project on the healing properties of essential oil and alternative modalities for pain control and stuff, and tried to utilize that in my hospital. But I think I was a little bit ahead of my time, so it didn't go very far. But I know the stuff works. I mean, now, as opposed to back then, there was some research back then, but now there's just tons of research that explain how the creativity forms new neural pathways in the brain. It, makes the brain function better, and not just for artists or creative people. It's for everyone. Like this book that I read, Your Brain on Art, and they discuss how it helps with accountants, attorneys, people that have, desk jobs all day. It makes their output better if they practice some kind of a creative outlet every day.
And
So,
that is exactly the philosophy that we talk about here on my channel. And just be creative and share, and it makes everybody around you more productive and creative as well when you start to share your passions.
mhm,
Now, I want to get into a bit of a sadder topic and just get it out of the way. The elephant
yeah,
in the room here of
right.
your tragic loss. And
Yes.
I I know that you talk about it
Mhm.
on your podcast.
Yes.
And so I don't want to bring up something that isn't something that you would make public, but can you can you tell the listeners a little bit about the loss that you encountered and then how you are using your art and creativity as a way of healing so that if they have gone through something similar in their lives, they can also do the same. And I'm kind of tearing up because
Mm,
of, thinking of some things that happened in my family as well, with the
right.
loss of my brother and father. But
Yeah.
I'm going to let you go on and talk about your
Okay.
story.
So, a week before my senior year of nursing college, my dad was in a car accident and the truck flipped and he was caught underneath and caught fire and he passed away. He was in his 40s. And at that point in my life, I thought that that was the worst pain that I could ever experience in my life. Just devastation. But I recovered. I went back to school. I started living my life and then I had a family of my own, 4 kids, and with the opioid epidemic as prevalent as it is, one of them became addicted to opiates. And I remember talking to him and he and I were very close and he said, "Mom, you don't understand. It's," he goes, "You don't understand. It was so prevalent, so easy to get these opioids. Everybody was doing them, but he became addicted." So, long story short, he fought really, really hard and eventually he lost his battle when he was 23. And I thought, this is the worst pain that I've ever experienced in my life. I can't even imagine it. There's just not even a name for a mom that loses a child, You're not a
My
widow
mom
or
is
anything.
91 and still suffering and still talks
Yeah.
about the loss of my brother a lot.
And I cried buckets of tears and I thought, how can your body even make that many tears? But I got really, really involved in service work. A lot of service work. I mean, 24/7, weekends, holidays, I was doing service work. And we became really close to Brad's sponsor because Brad was in recovery until he passed. And then a couple years after Brad died, this son that we welcomed into our family also suffered an overdose and died. And I really didn't think it was like everything
It's like
stood
losing
still.
another son.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how can this be happening? What is going on? And my sister, who is a classically trained artist, she went to the Art Institute, invited me over to her house and she said, "We're going to paint." And I said, "I am not painting. No way, I'm not." And she said, "Yeah, we're going to paint." And so I got there and she had all the paint sitting out and the canvases. And I was like, okay, I'll paint. And I sat down at that kitchen table and we painted for 2, 3 hours. And it was the first time in a very long time that I was able to sit still, be still, and experience joy and peace and serenity without my mind just spinning. And I got up and I'm like, wow, I love this. And then I started looking at YouTube and I started, finding different painting techniques, and I got into fluid art, and I love fluid art. And then I wanted to do more. So then I started doing little projects, and then I had paint parties at my house, and then I started making classical art, and it just evolved. And I'm still growing. I mean, you never stop growing as an artist. And it made such a huge difference in my life that I feel like I can't live without it now. I
Well,
love creating.
I think that you've come a long way. I'm very sorry for your losses, all of them. And it sounds like your sister had just what the doctor ordered, which is
Yeah.
get into it and get into something and express your creativity. And then it's just snowballed from there. Like now you have a whole
Yeah.
empire, I want to say, of all the artistry and creativity and books. And it's all
yeah.
creativity. And you never stop growing.
Yeah.
Which is what we're doing here with this conversation. And I'm
Right.
growing just like listening to you. So this is amazing. This is amazing. I think we have a lot of listeners that are paper crafters, seamstresses, and artists, and we do a lot of different things. So this is really helpful.
Right.
And I listened to your podcast the other day, and you were talking about mantras and you running and things like keeping yourself going. So let's talk about how mantras help you and what is a mantra, and for somebody who maybe doesn't do mantras.
Yeah.
So
when I actually ran a half marathon several pounds ago. But I read this book, the Marathon Bible or something like that, and they talked about mantras. And they said develop your own mantra and you just repeat it over and over and over while you're at, mile 10 or whatever, when you hit that wall. And I still remember it. I am a runner. I'm svelte. My shoes have wings. I'm a runner. I'm a runner. I'm a runner. I would just repeat that over and over.
And you are.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah, I did it. And so now I have little mantras, I got the one that I shared from Joe Davis, and nothing shall enter this sacred space that doesn't serve my highest good. Nothing. And you just repeat it over and over and over, and it becomes ingrained in you. And I don't know if you've ever heard that expression, fake it until you make it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you think I'm doing? I mean, yes, of course. Yes, I've heard it.
Yeah. So it's the same when we, and this is, scientifically proven, what we say, what we speak will be. So we just keep speaking it over and over and over, I used to go to work like last year, and I would go into work and I'd tell the girls, well, I mean, you're looking at a millionaire here. And they'd laugh at me. And I go, oh no, it's going to happen. I'm going to be a millionaire artist. And they'd laugh and they'd laugh. And I go, well, you wait and see. And then I co-authored the first book, and it was just amazing. There's 64 other artists, creatives, and Jessica Hughes was the collaborator for that. She's an amazing woman. And I'm watching this book release on Amazon, and we thought, okay, maybe we'll get one #1 category, right? And it just kept growing and growing and growing. And it was like 24 categories, 25 categories, 1 country, 2 country, 3 countries. all #1
That
with
is
this book.
excellent.
I couldn't believe it. I was like jumping up and down, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Dawn, is this happening?" I go, "I told you. I told you."
Yes, I've heard that term before I get into your book. I've heard the term of, and I love listening to the Lit Factor. Might have a different name, Bob, but Tracy Lit. She's always saying, become the future. You become be your future self. Okay, so
Yes.
I believe, like, be your future self, and then you will become her. So, like,
Yes.
you will become her. And I'll write down a question that one of my former podcast interviews wants to ask you as a guest too, as well. And it has to do with kind of our past and future self. But like,
Mhm.
and that's what I do. I have to enjoy the journey, because
Yeah.
I'm already, you know, in my case, like, I'm already a million sales achiever or more, and I'm already a million YouTube subscribers. Like someday, like, it doesn't
Exactly.
matter, because I'm already there in my mind, and it'll get there.
Yes.
Because, like, I have to feel like that before it'll get there. Now I
Mhm.
want to ask you. So you're talking about the book, the Creative
Mhm.
Life Book, and now you have part two, which is Radical Self Love. So I want to
Right.
know how you got involved in this project of the two-part series, and how that has helped you in your career, and where you go from here. Is there going to be a book three? So let's get into your books.
So, Jessica Hughes is the mastermind, and I joined her mastermind for creatives, and she's really helped me grow and evolve as an artist and as an entrepreneur. And she had this idea, hey, let's all band together and release these books. And so we did.
I love it.
And she is going to have more. There's going to be more coming in the series. It's all under the umbrella of the Creative Life Book, because really it's all the books have something to do with creativity, you know, radical self-love, creativity. The Creative Life Book is how you infuse that into your life or into your practices. So I'm not sure what the title of the third book is going to be, but it's
But
going to be good.
there's going to be one.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
So you also mentioned one of your interests to me when you're talking, is that you like handmade gifts.
I
And
do.
and of course, I love handmade cards and handmade gift packaging, and
Mhm.
sometimes even the gift. But
Yeah.
I'm more into the packaging. So where did that come from? And maybe a story, or some kind of, I would like to know how people react when you give them a homemade gift, is what I'm trying to get at.
I feel like I know for me, I've had tons of gifts over the years, right? And some of them you remember, and some of them end up in the closet, or you don't know who gave them to you. But I have gifts that I've gotten from people years ago, and I still get that feeling of joy when I look at the gift. I'm looking at a painting that my daughter made on the wall here, um, of some
So
flowers,
beautiful.
and she gave it to me. And there's another painting over there, and and Brad actually made me a painting too, and it's very simple. It's like squares, and he signed his initials, and I have it in my bedroom. I mean, handmade gifts are more than just the gift itself. It's the energetic exchange of love and, that person that you're getting. So, I had this idea to put together this, gift course for this year's holidays. And, I'm still working on it, but it'll come
Great.
together. I
Maybe
mean,
you'll get it up by Black Friday.
yeah, yeah.
Well, that's a good time.
Because,
People love to take courses.
yeah, right now more than ever, the economy's a little bit sluggish, and why not make something for somebody that they're going to treasure, and you're going to benefit from making it too, because you get the therapeutic benefits of creating.
And
Much better than going out and fighting that shopping traffic.
right, I love it. And I always tell everybody when we're making the cards, please send your cards to people. Don't keep them in your collecting dust, because everybody can benefit, and we all need a little pick me up. So I think
Yeah.
that's great. I still have a pottery piece my niece made me with the little
Mhm.
face on it. She twisted the little face on, and it's a flower pot, but it's pottery.
Yeah.
And Kim, hey, Kim, I thought of you. It's really cracks me up, and it
Yeah.
just makes me smile. So I do love homemade gifts, and I'm sure, had a good response when you give them to people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And speaking of giving things away, I see that you allow people to get your prints from you if they just pay the shipping. So where did you come
Yeah.
up with that idea of giving away art? And
It's
for
a print, and the collection is really near and dear to my heart. It's called Rooted in Faith. And there's 4 paintings, and one is Divine Light. I have Abundantia. I have Hope All Around, and The Hand of God. And it's funny, each time I made one of those paintings, like, I was feeling that. Like, the hand of God, oh man, things were really turbulent here. And I have a 23-year-old that is challenging, and I'm just slapping paint on the canvas and slapping it on. And then I put a little collage in there, and I stood back and I didn't really even notice anything. At first, I was going to call it Turbulent Waters, and I posted it on Facebook, and somebody said, "Oh my gosh, I see the hand of God reaching into the turbulent waters." And I'm like, huh, there it is.
Wow, I need to look at it again. I did see the turbulent waters in that. I need to go see
Yeah. I was
relook
like,
at it.
okay, so that's what it is. And I didn't even see it, but that's amazing that, people can connect with your art and then you see it. So, I decided to make a little print collection that somebody could pick one of those that they resonate with and put it in their space to kind of instill that faith and hope, whatever they need in their space.
Well, that's nice. And I really love those. And I'm going to have the link in the show notes of where they can go get those prints.
Mhm.
So,
Thank you.
and now I want to ask you that question that from my former uh, interviewee, I guess we're going to call you my first podcast interview. You are my second. And Tracy Vanover, she asked if you could go back 10 years and give yourself some advice, or we can even use 20 years, however many years you want to go back and give yourself some advice, what would that be?
It's what I say all the time now. Life is a journey. Each day is precious, and enjoy every single minute of it. Don't get caught up in all the details and the mistakes and the errors. Just try and find joy in every single day, because we don't know when tomorrow will not be here.
I love that advice. That's good advice. And now
Mhm.
some of my listeners are just getting started in whatever it is they want to do. And
Mhm.
I know you're further ahead on your journey. You've already written books, you've already produced art, you've already started a podcast. And I want you, and I can also like help in this conversation. Like, what can we, what kind, how can we inspire people to take that first step toward finding their passion and then taking that path of following that path
I really
with
think
their
it
higher self?
boils down to radical self-love, right? If we can't love ourselves, then there's nothing that we can give to somebody else. We have to love us first, because one, you can't pour from an empty cup.
I
So
love.
with that being said, pick something and stay focused on that one thing. That's one problem I may have. I get too many plates spinning, but focus on one thing and see it through. When I was putting this podcast together, my podcast, oh my gosh, 2 days I struggled with tech and figuring things out, and I was almost ready to quit. And I called a friend and she said, just take a little break, walk away, and come back. I know you're going to get this. And I did. I came back and I got it done. And that sense of accomplishment, even though, it's not perfect, we're brand new podcasters, right?
Right.
It's amazing that we have accomplished that. And the more you do something, the better you get. And it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's art or my husband knits. He's a knitter.
That
So,
is interesting.
yes, his mother was an avid knitter and crocheter. And when she passed away, she had, I can't tell you how much yarn and knitting tools. So the kids kind of divvied them up, and he brought some home, and he started watching YouTube videos, and he's knitted blankets and pot holders and towels and all kinds of stuff. So,
Well, I like to see some of what he has created.
mhm. I told him he should make a YouTube channel.
Hey, why not? That's what we have a Grow Your Crafty Friends business group, and last night we met for the first time, and we were talking about that YouTube channels and Facebook groups and all the things to start. I'm like, we cannot start these all at once.
No.
Right? We need to do one thing at a time. And I like what you said. And one of the people I listen to is Maria Forleo, and she says, I don't do overwhelm. That's her mantra.
Mm,
I don't do overwhelm. So so my advice in along the lines of you would just be like, take that step and get a hold on the thing. Don't try to do 10 things because you won't get a hold of any of them and you'll
right.
get overwhelmed. So then, like, if it's going to be Instagram, focus on
Mhm.
that. If it's going to be Facebook groups, YouTube, podcasting. The reason I'm at the point where I could do this podcast now is I'm almost at my 1,000 videos on YouTube. I've done that, got that under control. It's not great, but I have it under control. I know what
Yeah.
to do, I guess, after 1,000 times, right?
Right.
So that now I could start a new venture, but I would never have done this at the same time as that. Or if you bite off too many things, you can't chew
Mhm.
them, right? So
That's exactly where I'm at. I'm not I mean, I have a YouTube channel, but I really don't do anything with it. And I thought to myself, I can't even look at that right now. I can't even begin to tackle that. I'm just going to focus on this and, my painting and making gifts for people and my job and my family. So,
right, and
yeah.
I'll ask you about that, your typical day, but I would like to say that I'm going to be putting this on my YouTube channel, so you will have your face all over YouTube. I put this on my channel. Now, the YouTube does have a podcast playlist that you can have on your channel,
Mhm.
but it accepts only a video format. So even when I have an audio where I didn't videotape the guest, I can still put clips of the audio in a video format.
Wow.
That's the format. And of course, this will be on Apple, Spotify, and all the others. So what is your typical day like on whether you could pick a work day or a just a day when you're creating, but I'd like to hear about your typical day
Okay.
in the life of
I'll pick a
Dawn.
half and half day because
Sure.
my work days are really long. So on Thursdays, I work half a day. I go into work. I help people with mental health and addiction. Come home, usually work on some tech stuff, your social media channels, your podcast, recording, editing, downloading. And then I oftentimes have my granddaughter. So she loves to paint with me, and we paint together all the time. She's 5. And then I will do some coursework. I love learning, so I'm actually taking a painting course from Milan Institute of Art, and because I wanted to learn how to do oil painting. Never too late to learn. And
Never too late to learn anything. That's wonderful.
mhm. And then, dinner and more painting or some type of creative outlet, and then I go to bed.
That sounds like a wonderful day,
Mhm.
and especially the time spent with your granddaughter. Does she
Yes.
have aspirations yet of what does she talk about what she wants to do?
I call her my little artist. I said, "You are a wonderful artist." And one time I was videotaping her and she says, "Hello." My name is Brinley, and I'm a wonderful artist. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Thought I was gonna die. She was so funny. But yeah, that's another, I mean, you probably don't even know about this one, but a year ago we lost my grandson, her brother, at the babysitter's, and
No, I did not.
yeah, and he was almost 2, and it's just been another horrific ordeal. But again, even with Brinley, the art and the painting is so therapeutic for her. She loves it. So I'm helping her with that too.
Wow, you are amazing. I think that you're going to find a lot of people that really connect with you because of the losses that they've gone through and that they also want to express themselves with through their art.
Mm-hmm.
And you've taken it one step further and even monetized that. So that's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But it's such a healing process. And I hope that others get to find you so you can help them get through that, because I have a friend whose daughter overdosed, and I really want to connect you with her
Yeah, that would be great.
very soon, because
Yeah.
it's very recent and she's in complete darkness and
Yeah.
she has so much light to give. And I
Yeah.
tell her, oh, I can see you as a speaker, and to other parents that this has happened to,
Yeah.
but she can't see herself out of this right now
Well,
situation. Yeah,
the one thing I will say about such a traumatic loss is there's just no way around the darkness. You have to go through it.
right.
And, but once you get to the other side, everything is more beautiful. The sunrises are beautiful. Sunsets, I'm just in awe over. I mean, just the littlest things um, become really, really something. So,
Yeah, you mentioned on your podcast about gratitude, like raising your frequency. So
yeah,
I'm thinking you're talking about that, like you really now appreciate all
yes,
those things in life. And
right.
when you raise your frequency, of course, everything else starts to happen positively. So
Yeah.
that's amazing. Now, do you have any, I see you were asking, you want to find dreamers and collaborators, and do you have any interesting things in the works for your podcast now or for your future collaborations? Some of these,
I just finished a collaboration with Jane Belante. She's she loves doing scrapbook and collage, and I took a course with her, and it was just about letting go, you know, making art that you don't care about, that just the act of doing. And I really liked it because, like I told you, I'm in this course and it's very intense with Milan Art Institute. And so to have a course like that where you can just let go and work in your art journal and express yourself, and it's just for you, I loved it. So she asked me to do a collaboration with her, and I'm going to be featured in her little magazine. So
that
super
is
excited about that.
congratulations, and I'd love to meet her someday too.
Yes.
This is like so fun to like hear
Yes.
about the connections you've made and the collaborations.
She's really awesome, just like you. I'm loving talking to you, and we're gonna be fast friends, I
Yes,
could tell.
we're crafty friends already. We're going to be
Yeah.
crafty besties. And
Yes.
I also journal. This one's more of a, I'm just going to show you because my friend got it
Yeah.
made. My friend Jenny put my name on it, but I do write journal thoughts as they come to me.
Yeah.
But this is more of a notes from my courses that I take. And then I, in the back, I have when I wake up, like this is all my crazy dreams. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't mean dreams like, oh, I dream of being an astronaut. I mean, like I had a dream and it was so crazy vivid. And if you wake up and you write it down right away, you can have these amazing details from the dreams. So that's the back. Journal thoughts just come to me like I can't stop the download. They just keep coming. And then
Mhm.
of course I write down my notes. So for those who are, I want to say digital people, or people who just think they can remember everything, or just people who just don't like to write,
Yeah.
What is the importance of writing things down, in your opinion, and
You
journaling?
know, there's something that happens with the tactile sensation and the movement of the hand and the connection of that to the brain that's different than typing or dictating. Now, I will say, um, when I have a dream now, I would never write them down. So I started dictating them in my notes in my phone so that I would actually do it. But when you journal, it's really a meditative process, and it's really important to use that tactile sensation with the journaling, in my humble opinion, because
No,
I
I
think it
I
makes it.
I think so too. I think that's what it is for me. Is like when you write it down, I remember it in a different way. And I even remember, oh, someone said that, and it was on the left side of the page
Yeah,
in red ink, like because I use different color inks. So I use like purple and red and green and blue,
yeah,
black. So I might go, oh, I saw that it was in red and it was on the left. Because I can actually remember where it was, not what page of the journal, but what the point was. And then I try to, because I'm getting a lot of coaching lately and I'm trying to impart what they tell me and I have to try to find it again. So I
mhm,
use this book, a bunch of other books, and then I use Evernote. It's a really cool program
mhm,
and it's a note taking, and then it lets me search that. It lets
mm,
me search through other. So I agree, and I think journaling is so important. And we talked about mantras. That's mantras is something you're going to repeat to yourself and get
right,
yourself psyched up. Mine is I like to use the one about I don't do overwhelm. So now instead of saying, for example, oh, I have so many card club kits to make. There's no way I'm ever going to get them done. It's like, oh, I'll get these done. In other words, I'm not overwhelmed. Like I actually convince myself. It's maybe even not true sometimes, but I convince myself and it makes it true. In other
yeah,
words, like I might have so much to do and I just say it'll get done. And especially when I was sick and I just couldn't get it done, it will get done.
mhm,
And nothing happened. My customers were fine with it. It will all get done. We don't
yeah,
do overwhelm. And then
yeah,
so we talked about journaling and affirmations, or mantras. Affirmations are sort of positive.
mhm,
They're like our mantras, right? But we
right,
affirmations. And we talked about gratitude and raising our frequency. We talked about creativity as a way of healing.
mhm.
I want to see if we're forgetting any of these things that are really important lessons for our
Prayer
listeners.
and meditation.
Yes, prayer and
Mm,
meditation.
yeah. And, you know, it took me a while to really lean into the meditation, but it is such an important practice, and it's like you're releasing things so that you can receive. So I used to listen to guided meditations, and then I started listening to the hum of the fan, and I would push all thoughts. I just try and push all thoughts out of my brain. A thought comes in, nope, hum, listen to the hum. And I'll set my timer on the phone for 15 minutes and just do that. And you'd be amazed at how much that improves your frequency, your radio, it just opens you up.
I love that because like I've always kind of learned like catch up, like the thoughts come in your head and
Yeah.
you have to like catch them and throw them away. So
Yeah.
like they're coming and you're like, gotta go get groceries, need milk, throw it
Yeah.
away. Uh,
Yeah.
somebody's asking me to call them back, throw it away. Like just every thought, because if all these thoughts just keep cluttering your brain, then you can't like kind of get into the zone of the meditation zone. And
Right.
so that's what I do when I meditate. But I'm more of a guided meditation. I like to listen to the stereo where I put my earbuds in and they're I guess trances, kind of like what something's
Oh,
talking
yeah.
to you in one ear. I
Uh-huh.
have to share them with you. They're free
Mhm.
from Mind Valley. I
Okay.
they're on YouTube, but they're anyway, like you put on your earbuds and like something talks to you in the one ear and then in the other ear. And it's just like really cool.
Yeah.
And they're meditations and you get really into it. But then after a few minutes of throwing away, the thoughts come in and you're like, boom, boom,
Uh-huh.
and you throw them away. I literally catch them. And I feel like this is where I catch them from because they come right here. Gone, gone. And
Yeah.
then I get into the zone and then I'm like, wow, I feel like so refreshed and renewed. And
Yeah.
these mine are only like 7 minutes or 15
Oh,
minutes. They're not
yeah.
long.
Right.
I then have the energy to do like so many more things. I
Mhm,
love that. And
mhm.
meditation it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. I used to roll my eyes at all that woo woo stuff, but
Right.
it really has helped me a lot.
But it
And
works if you work it.
it works if you work it. I
Yep.
remember years ago I listened to a book on neuro-linguistic programming, and
Yes.
it's an audiobook, and I listened to it several times, and like now whenever I have like a bruise, or it doesn't matter what I have, I'm always like talking to my body. I
Mhm.
like talk to the like as if it's alive,
Yeah,
and it really feels like it does work.
yeah.
It's just very interesting if you've never heard of that. I mean, these were back in the audio tape days, and and then it went to CDs, and now I listen to audios books on the Audible and things.
Me
But yeah,
too.
it's really all these things have helped me, and so I'm glad you mentioned the meditation because it clears your brain for other
Yeah,
things. You
yeah,
can't, like you said, you can't give with an empty cup. You can't give from an empty cup.
right.
And one of the things we were talking about in my group last night was mindset, and if you could speak to some of that, because I mean, and this just has to do with anything, but we were talking about in the area of selling and
Mhm.
mindset, and I was like, well, you, you I used to think of money in a different way, and
Yeah.
now I have I think of selling as like service and showing
Yes.
people things, and the whole world is all about, like you talked about, energetic exchanges, but
Mhm.
money to me is not really paper. It's
Right,
just like an energetic exchange as well. Like you do something for someone, and then they want to support you with money or buying something or
right.
signing up for this or that. It doesn't really to me, I'm over all that, but I don't know when exactly that happened for me. I can't recall the point, but I'm trying to help people that are at that point, at the beginning, where they're just like, I don't like selling. I don't
Mhm,
know if I could do this as a XYZ demonstrator, artist, creative
mhm.
person, author. They don't want to share their gifts and try to sell them, but then they won't be able to keep on doing what they're doing if they don't start selling things that they do. So can you help me like convince
So I
people about that?
love that you said selling is serving because I'm in the mastermind with Jessica, and that's one of the points that she has taught us. And yes, money is not it's so much more than just paying for something. It's an energetic exchange. And I am more mindful of my money. Like, for example, I had some people at work talking about that Timu app or whatever.
Oh yeah.
And I said, that does not interest me. I I I have no interest in that, and I don't really want to support that because I would rather have something that's meaningful. And you can buy a really nice, wonderful shirt and wear it over and over and over and over and over. Or you can go and get something that, you don't feel as good in. And which one makes you feel better, you know?
And it's supporting the artist too. There was an artist on Instagram, and she was holding up like a blanket. I think it was a anyway, the fabric was stolen on that app, like in it
Yeah.
being sold, her fabric, her design.
Yes.
And then I saw somebody, and that was somebody I didn't follow, but it went so viral that it got to my feed on Instagram. And then somebody I do follow that I've been following for probably 10 years on YouTube, and
Yeah.
her designs, she also, so I kind of feel like I know her, just like I hope people feel like they know me because like I'm always watching her for 10 years. And she was like, my design got stolen and it's being sold over there
Mhm.
on that app. And I was like, oh, so that's
Yeah.
why I don't use it, because I want to support the original. I know what goes into designs, and I want to
Right.
support the original artist.
Right. Right. So, um, when we talk about the mindset of money,
Mm.
that's why I say I am a millionaire. Now, does that mean that I have $1,000,000? Mm,
You'll
probably
get there.
not.
You'll get there.
But it's really not about the money, right? It's about the mindset. I'm doing what I love and I'm making money and I'm happy. And one of the phrases that I think people can start using. And I learned this from a young man, and he was in recovery, and he come in and he goes, I get to go tie my shoes today. I get up and go to work. I get to brush my teeth. And everything was I get to. And I get to make art and share it with the world. How cool is that?
Right. I love that. If you go about the day, think with that gratitude and
Mm-hmm.
appreciation,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
then you don't think of it as a chore. You get to do something. You think of it as a privilege. And
Yeah.
man, that's powerful stuff there.
Yeah.
I really hope that the listeners have got something out of this conversation. I know I have, because when you're around people that are like-minded and you can understand this, then you really will start making these connections, and things will be different for you. They'll start to change.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I don't know exactly when, this epiphany happened or this epiphany happened, but it's a journey, and you have to love the journey so that
Right.
you can keep going on the journey. You can't say, oh, when I get that $1 million, I'll be able to donate. No, donate now. When I
Right.
get that $1 million, I'll have the freedom to go on vacation. No, go on vacation now. Like,
Yes.
enjoy life now, because you have to enjoy the journey, or you'll never get to that next level.
So
And
true. So
yeah,
true. Yeah.
so I'm glad that, we took this step of starting these podcasts, because I think it's just fun to have a different format to share stories and things. And
Mm-hmm.
wow. So I am excited that I got to talk to you today, and we covered a lot of topics. And is there
We
anything else
sure
that you
did.
want to add before I kind of summarize our conversation?
No, you'll have the links in your bio or show notes. And if people want to check me out, I'm Dawn Renee Bova on Facebook and Instagram.
Thank
And
you. I
it's
will
been a
link your
pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, I will link your Facebook, your Instagram, your prints, where they can download those prints. I saw you had a journal for positive affirmations. I'm going to
Yes.
share those. And then I have links to your 2 books on Amazon, and anything else I can find, I will link, and you can tell me later.
Okay.
And that's a funny story, because my first guest was like, your show notes are only appearing and her name's Tracy,
Yeah.
in Apple, but not in Spotify. And I'm like, oh no, they're there. They're in my little description of the podcast. And of course they weren't. So 1:00 in the morning, a couple nights ago, I'm like, I figured it out. I know
Mm-hmm.
how to get them to show up on all the platforms. So I actually know how to do show notes and even make them look better this time with actual hyperlinks. Imagine,
I
imagine
just
that.
figured that out tonight.
You know what I mean? Then right. It's
Yeah.
like they're showing. I know where to put them, but they were like not in a list format. And the funny
Right.
thing is, I've been doing WordPress for years. I've had a WordPress site, but not as a podcaster.
Yeah.
So everything is different. So guys, if I can do this and do it messy, guys,
Yeah.
do things messy. Don't try to do things perfectly, because you just got to start getting out there, getting
Mm-hmm.
it done.
Yeah.
This podcast,
70% is good enough.
yeah, this podcast is all about taking inspired action toward your goals. So like, just start doing anything that you want to start doing. Stop talking about it. And if you don't even take the first action, some of my coaches would say, you're never going to do this. You
Yeah.
didn't, all you're doing is talking about it. Or
Right.
one of my coaches says, like, this girl asked him a question. He's like, you ask that same question every week. Just start it already. I'm sick of
Yeah.
you asking me the same question every week. It's very funny. I get a lot of humor. I listen to them. It's very humorous, but it's like, just start it already. All right. So today we talked about the value of creativity as a way of healing and
Mm-hmm.
as a way of expressing yourself.
Right.
We talked about using your creativity to make homemade gifts and how that makes other people feel, and then how they can remember that. We talked about how you can use your passion and creativity to help you get over losses in your life.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about using journaling, mantras, and affirmations as a way of picking yourself up and putting yourself in a future state, like in a future state of being so that you can then become that person. So and I've also heard it called act as if. So act as if you're at that next level.
Right.
And we talked about action and the importance of it and mindset. And boy, we talked about a lot of things, and we
sure
do this
did.
again. We could do this again, and
We could go on forever.
again and again. We could go on and on. So do you have any questions I could ask or just a question I could ask my next guest on this podcast? And if you don't think of it now, you can always let me know.
How about what scary inspired action did they take?
I like that. Thank you. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on today, Dawn.
Yeah. Thanks
Thank
for
you
having me.
so much for being
And I look
here.
forward to you being on my show too.
Oh, I will. Absolutely. I promise. And it will be, let's say, by the end of November, we will do that. We will set it up.
Perfect.
Okay.
Sounds
Got to set
great.
a timeline. Once you say you're going to do something, put a timeline on it.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's all for now. Thank you, Crafty Friends. And we will see you again. Keep
Yep.
on creating.
Okay. Thank you.
Have a good day.
All right.